I think it's. Thank you, Salma, for having me first. I think it's quite plausible, even though I am cautiously optimistic. I believe that this time there might be an actual chance that we might reach a ceasefire. However, we have been in this predicament before. For several times, we have reached a point where we have said that within hours or even within minutes, we would have a ceasefire in effect and a detainee exchange deal. However, on all of the previous occasions, this never transpired, and we were faced with an even worse escalation. However, this time we have a new factor in play, and that is the Trump factor. The Trump administration, even though it did not assume the presidency yet, it still will assume the presidency in a few days. They have taken played an effective role in the negotiating process in Doha. President-elect Trump sent his Middle East envoy with Cobb to Doha, and reportedly the incoming Trump administration has exercised substantial pressure on Netanyahu and his government in order for them to accept this preliminary deal. However, only the coming days will tell whether this agreement will be implemented or not.
Sir, what do you make of the contradictions in the media reports regarding the ceasefire negotiations in Gaza over the past few hours?
Well, of course, the contradictions primarily stem from the divisions inside Israel. It seems that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is on board. However, the far right elements of his government, like Smotrich and Being Fair, do oppose the implementation of a deal. Some segments of Israeli society and the Israeli political establishment and the security establishment are very enthusiastic for a deal. Others, on the other hand, are calling it a defeat if they accept a deal on such terms. So this explains why we have a plethora of leaks that contradict one another. And I think that we will not know for sure whether this deal is going to happen or not until it actually happens. So I think, again, we will have to wait for the next few days in order to discover whether we will have a ceasefire deal or not.
Dr. Osman, what, in your opinion, do you think is this potential agreement going to lead to a permanent ceasefire in Gaza?
Let's be clear that all the leaks that we have heard and the many versions that have been leaked to the media, none of them have mentioned an immediate permanent ceasefire. Some of the leaks say that it will be a long ceasefire. Some say 40 days, 42 days. Some say 90 days. And that there will be different stages of the ceasefire. However, that it will not be a definitively final ceasefire, and that Israel has received guarantees from the incoming Trump administration that they will have a right to resume the war after the deal, the time frame of the deal expires. On the other hand, we have other leaks that say that no, this deal after the preliminary stages and will actually lead to a permanent ceasefire and a full withdrawal of Israel from the Gaza Strip. So these are the contradicting reports that you have mentioned in your previous questions, and they do complement the actual the question you have just asked right now. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, and why do you think Netanyahu at the moment wants to expedite reaching an agreement which is so unlike his previous stance?
Because of the Trump pressure. Mm-hmm. Trump, as it seems, the Trump administration or Donald Trump realizes or actually knows how much pressure the United States can actually exert on Israel. And surprisingly enough, it seems that Donald Trump has decided to actually put pressure on Netanyahu and the Israeli government for a simple reason. Trump wants to end all of the wars involving the United States, whether directly or indirectly. And of course, the war in the Middle East that all stem from the Gaza war. The United States is implicated in that through its unlimited support for Israel and its confrontations with the Houthis in Yemen and whatnot. So they are strongly invested Trump is strongly invested in ending all of the wars that the United States is involved in, including, for example, the war in Ukraine and so on and so forth. So he finds it easy to end the war in Gaza, or at least pause it temporarily, in order to pay attention to the domestic affairs of the United States and settling the war in Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Osman, how will the far-right component of the Israeli government, do you think, will react to a ceasefire agreement?
I think that's the only thing that is actually threatening this ceasefire agreement. The far-right elements, especially the blocs led by Itmar Ben Gvir and Smotrich, the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Finance. If both of them withdraw, both of them, of course, oppose the deal. However, Ben Gvir had threatened to withdraw from the government, but Smotrich, even though he strongly opposes the deal, did not threaten yet that he will leave the government. And even Ben Gvir asked him publicly to withdraw. If both of them withdraw, this is the end of Netanyahu's government. If only one of them withdraws, Netanyahu's government can survive. So if the entire far-right blocs in the government come together and decide to withdraw from the cabinet in protest of this deal if it's implemented, then either Netanyahu's government will fall or the government will pull back from the ceasefire agreement deal in order to prevent its collapse.